Hey, YouTube believers. Chris Mack coming at you with X-Men Fantastic Four #1. And I remember I read this a year ago when it came out. I think it was April 2020. And that book pissed me off. So I thought, okay, throw it in my long box. Almost a year later, still pisses me off. Now, that's not to say that the book itself is bad. It's an excellent read. But the fact that this book makes me hate the X-Men even more now, it makes me like Reed Richards even less. So this is Chip Zdarsky writing. So let's get past the preamble there and get to who made this book. Of course, it's not going to tell you. There it is. I hate when they do that. So this is Chip Zdarsky writing, which I'm absolutely love. Terry Dodson doing the penciling, which is absolutely excellent. Rachel Dodson doing the ink, of course, awesome. Dexter Vine and Carl Story doing the ink assistants. Laura Martin doing the color art, and VC's Joe Caramanga doing the lettering. Now, the reason that this book even exists is for those of you that haven't really read a lot of Fantastic Four, Franklin Richards, Reed Richards and Sue Storm's son, is a mutant. He has an Omega level, almost God level power. He can create universes. In the Fallout of Secret Wars, the horrid event, the event itself wasn't too bad, but the books that came out afterwards, for the most part, were horrible. But anyway, the way that the Earth kind of came back to what it was is Franklin Richards. What was that guy's name? Not the Multiple Man. I can't remember his name. They basically reignited the universe using their powers. Now, with this horribleness that is Krakoa, well, let's just stop there and kind of follow the story. Kitty, if y'all want to keep up with her, she's in a book called Marauders. For whatever reason, I stopped after issue 1. I just completely noped out. But Kitty cannot access the Krakoa gates. If y'all know why, or if they've revealed it, let me know down in the comments, because I'm not going to read that book. So she takes a ship to get to and from Krakoa. From what I understand, she's the only mutant that can't enter the gates. So Xavier's asking for her when she lands back on the island. And then this is where we get into all the story about Franklin. And they're saying that he trusts Kitty the most because when they first met, it was back in the 87 Fantastic Four versus the X-Men. And Xavier says, and this is where you come in, Catherine. Eric and I know that you and Franklin have a special history. Out of all of us, he's likely to trust you the most. She's like, are you talking about? Yes. When he almost died, and Franklin would visit you in Latavia while Victor Von Doom worked on a cure. That was a long time ago for him. I don't know if he'd remember. Now, if y'all remember when they first introduced Franklin, he was a young boy, like probably 7 or 8, and the same kind of during the Onslaught event. Well, after the events of Secret Wars, the family kind of did this time travel hopping, which is where the Fantastic Four were, which was kind of Marvel's way of not letting Fox have any new creations. That's why they disappeared. That's a whole another thing. But anyway, when they came back to the main universe, Franklin and Valeria, his sister, were in their teens. So there's something wrong with him. His powers, even though he has these God-level powers, they're draining. And he can't figure out why. Reed claims to not understand why. And now they're kind of having a father and son quarrel because Franklin is older now. And so, the pubescentness of not thinking I'm special anymore, it's getting to him. And Reed doesn't understand why he's being such a turd. And what I like is Sue. Sue's always the one that keeps the family centered. We'll eventually go over issue 1 of Invisible Woman, because that issue was great. I heard the rest of it was horrible. But issue 1 really shows how she is a pillar of the family. Now she says here, look, you know that when I was a teenager, I used to play soccer. And I was good. Really good. There were talks about me getting a scholarship, going to nationals. But then I broke my ankle. It was devastating. One day you think you're something special, that you're known for that thing, and then it's just gone. And it's hard to recognize everything else you have to give in that moment. He's young, trying to find his place in the world, and that's tricky enough without being in the Fantastic Four. And it gives Reed pause. Because even though he's the smartest man in the world, there are people who are specialized in certain areas and can be totally oblivious in other fields. And that's how Reed is. Sometimes he's so smart, he's dumb. And you can't damn him because what he does is good. And he tries, I know there's a saying that the road to hell is paved with good intentions, but Reed's heart is there. But sometimes because he's so caught up in the science of things, he forgets to look in his own heart. And we'll go over that in a minute. And I'm not going to read that. You guys can pause that and read it at your own convenience. Summarizing is, there's this theory out saying that heroes get their powers from this god source from another dimension or whatever. Reed can't find any theories that actually hold true for the Fantastic Four, but if he's saying that's the point, then you see this diagram where Reed, Sue, Johnny, and Ben get their powers, but Franklin's is broken. So, anyway. Now, if you guys recall when I was doing the review of Howard the Duck #1, and I was talking about how Zdarsky doesn't really do humor very well because it's more of that snarky, kind of more Friends humor. It's kind of falls flat. He knows how to kick you where it counts when it comes to emotional drama. Now check this out. He's talking to Uncle Ben, or as he used to call him Uncle Ben back in the day. Okay, let's just go and do this whole damn thing. I don't care. Ben's just like, I get it, kid. I do. But trust me, the superpower garbage ain't everything. I'd gladly live a normal life with Alicia, being regular handsome instead of, chiseled handsome. Come on, Uncle Ben. It's not the same thing. There wasn't any downside to my powers. I could still be, me. Just a better version. But Dad, he doesn't want Franklin, your old man. He's doing his best. Is he? Dad's the smartest man alive. He solves the universe's problems daily. So why is it exactly that the two problems he can't solve are you and me? Whew, that gives me chills every time I read that, because you can see where Franklin's coming from, but he's not seeing the forest for the trees, seeing that, his dad has a lot on his plate, but there are times that Reed has gone out of line, and we'll talk about that again in a minute. And I like how Ben says, Reed's a good man. He cares about you, about us. If he didn't want to fix either of us, he'd tell us. Because if he didn't, he knows we'd never forgive him. Whew. And then this is where shit hits the fan. Because instead of Xavier being how he used to be, where he just come into someone's home and act like a regular civilized man, it's like this invasion. And Sue is not taking any of that shit. She goes, I'll ask you one more time, Wolverine, why are you here? You know why we're here, Susan. We're here about the future. And then I hate that in the midst of all this showboating and posturing, there's a sweet moment between Kitty and Franklin, because they see each other almost as siblings, is how close they got. And so, even though there's this emotional resonance, it's sadly at the hands of ego. And it happens because Xavier is basically saying that things have changed. We've accepted our evolutionary status. And Magneto just bluntly says, we're above you. We're above everyone else. And it's just kind of like, really? And what I like is Sue calls him on his shit. This family isn't about segregation. We want our children to live in a modern society where they can learn and grow with people who have different experiences. It's why we choose to live here on Yancey Street, so we can be around people. Now, that's a good point. However, Magneto does also make an equally good point, because he goes, so you can endanger people? How long until the city block is destroyed because enemy of the Fantastic Four attack? Or enemies of mutants? Whew. It's hard when both sides can't hear one another, but they do make good points. Franklin says he wants to go, because he keeps saying, let's just go to it. You know, Kitty says, I'm sorry this is happening. I know it's a lot to take in. I just hate that nobody even cares what I think. Like, this is my life. So in that case, what do you want to do? And I remember being around his age, and people would ask me that when I would say I get tired of being told what to do. And he'd just kind of go, I don't know. I think I want to go. Maybe you can help me with my powers. But I know my parents will lose their minds. Because, you know, up to a certain point, you know, adolescence through probably about, 16, 17, you rely super heavy on what your parents think. And so people say, well, what do you want? You're so used to other people saying, well, this is what I have in mind for you, that you have to start making up your own mind. And so I like that Franklin actually starts to do that. And without asking the child what he wants, here we go again. Ego. What do you call it? Miscommunication. And there's even a scene I wanted to reference where Storm and Franklin Ben are outside, and he goes, so Stormy, what do you think? Is this a good idea? And even Storm, I can't believe Storm, of all people, would frickin' say this. She goes, mutants are hated and feared. Millions of us died at Genosha as a result of that hatred. The only way to properly protect Franklin is to be strong together. And I like how Ben is the voice of reason. He goes, I don't know. Sounds to me like the least safe place for my mutant godson is a new Genosha. Another good point, but nobody's listening above all the noise. Now, Franklin makes a beeline for the gate, but he's kind of in the same boat Kitty is. Can't access the gate. And there's a reason for it, and it's a heartbreaking reason. Oh my God. I don't want to spoil it. I know this is a year-old book, but needless to say, Xavier, no remorse, no care. I suspect this will resolve itself in time. Not to rush to the aid of his fellow mutant, he just leaves. Like Magneto would, like a villain. So, yeah, there's a real emotional moment with that. And then I can't wait to read issue 2 in the regards that I want to see what happens with Doom here. So there's a lot to unpack with this issue. The reason this book pisses me off so much is because the X-Men are not segregationists. I hate that out of House of X and Powers of 10, which has some really great ideas and arguing points in terms of why the mutants finally did this. But it should have come to some sort of conclusion sooner than how it's just drug on and on and on. And with the more it goes on and on, the less these X-Men feel like the ones that we've known for years. They're cold, callous, calculating. And that's why I'm hoping with Inferno that Mystique and Sabretooth burn this shit to the ground. But with that said, Zdarsky writing this, hitting those emotional resonant moments, it's an absolutely good read. The book itself is awesome. But like I said, the reason it pissed me off is because it just makes me hate the X-Men more. And there's a reason in here why it makes me hate Reed Richards more as well. And it's just like, damn. But for dramatic and good storytelling, hell yeah. Artwork, spot on. Wonderful book to read. I highly recommend it. If you've enjoyed it, please, first and foremost, check with your local comic shop and see if you can pick up a copy of it. If you've enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate if you take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel more than you could possibly know. And if you don't mind hitting that fancy little cocoa bell next to subscribe, that way as we continue to upload content, you guys will get notified. Come to the channel, and we love hearing your feedback and talking with y'all down in the comments below, or our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.